Hello Julian, welcome to another video lesson. So we have 5 problems, days 1 through 5 on week 17 and another set of 5 problems on week 18. So 10 problems in all. Let's start. Day 1. A circle has center 3, 3 and the circle passes through the point 3, 1. What is the circumference of the circle? So just as you know, the formula for circumference of a circle, which is an alternate name for the perimeter of a circle, is 2 multiplied with a constant that's called pi times the radius of the circle, 2 pi r. Okay. Now obviously in order to find the circumference of the circle, we need to know the radius of the circle. We need to find out the radius from the information given. Now there are different ways to find that out. You could use the distance formula on the coordinate plane if you know it, but I'm not going to confuse you because I'm almost certain that you are not aware about that formula. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull out a graph paper and try and draw this circle. So here's, let's say, my x and here's my y. I don't need the negatives, that's why I didn't draw them. The first thing you want to do is label the x-axis and the y-axis, right? And then look at this. The center is at 3, 3. So if we start at the origin, let's say one grid unit is actually 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on. So the scale factor remains the same as we see on the graph paper. 0, 1, 2, 3 along the y-axis, 4. Okay. So the center is at 3, 3. So you know x is 3. So here's 3 and y is 3. You go up 3 units. Here comes the center of the circle. Okay. And the circle passes through the point 3, 1. So where's 3, 1? This is the point 3, 1. So now if this is the center, let's call it C, and this is the point on the circle. Now obviously from here to here you don't even need to draw the circle. From here to here is what you have as the radius. But the circle actually goes like this, right? So there you go, this is the circle. Now this radius, as we can see, it's 3 over here and it's 1 over here, therefore the radius is equal to 2 units. And it's the same in all directions. The radius of the circle is constant, as you can see. It's 2 units no matter which way you look. So then we got this r is equal to 2, so all we need to do is plug in r is equal to 2 in our formula. We get 2 pi r is equal to 4 pi, right? So the right answer is C, 4 pi units. We are done with day 1. Over to day 2. Philip is preparing invitations for a school event. After 24 minutes, he has completed 30% of the job. At this rate, how many more minutes? How many more minutes? Underline this. Will it take Philip to complete this job? Okay. Now again, there are different ways to do this problem. Now I'm going to take a shortcut, take a cool route over here. Now 24 minutes is all that it takes Phillips to complete 30% of the job, 30%. So I'm going to find out how many minutes it's going to take him to complete 10% of the job, right? 10%, like if you look at 30 and if you look at 10, you divide this with 3. 30% divided with 3 is 10%. So we do the same thing on the other side. You divide this with 3, divide with 3, you get 24 divided with 3, that's 8 minutes. So we know that it takes Phillips 8 minutes to complete 10% or 1/10 of the job. 10%, remember, is the same as 1/10. And therefore, it's going to take him, you are right, multiply this with 10, you get 100% of the job, or the whole job, takes him times this side with 10 as well. Takes him 80 minutes to complete. But we are not done. Like I said, underline the more minutes. It takes him 80 minutes to complete the entire job. He has already completed 30% in 24 minutes, and therefore it's going to take him 80 minutes minus 24 minutes, which is 56 minutes. 56 more minutes, I should be saying. 56 more minutes to complete the job, and that's obviously option H. Day 3, week 17, Nick buys a new fish tank for his living room. Which is the best estimate of the volume of water Nick needs to fill the tank? So here comes the tank. We are given that the radius of the tank, the tank is like a cylinder. A cylinder has got a radius, and the radius is given as 6 3/4 inches. It's given. And the height of the tank is given as, let me write that down, H for height is 10 1/4 inches. Now you can find the volume of a tank, volume V of a tank, by using the formula pi r square times H. So pi r square is the area of the circular face. If you times that with the height, that gives you the volume. Now before I plug in these numbers into this formula, over here if you look at the options, 70, 147, 1080, 1470, so they're pretty much far apart on the number line. None of these numbers are close. So I'm going to take advantage of that, and I'm going to show you how to estimate the right answer without actually going on to find it. So over here we have volume is equal to pi. Pi is 3.14, right? Times r squared. Now if you look at r, that's 6 3/4. As a decimal, it's 6.75. So we have 6.75 square times h. H is 10 1/4. That's 10.25. So we have 3.14 times. Now 6.75. You know that 7 square is 49. Now this is a little less than 7. So let's just estimate. I'm not saying this is perfectly correct, but let's assume that this is 6.75 square is a number that's round about 45 times 10.25. Okay. Now if you multiply 45 with 3, how much do you get? 135. Now this is 3.14. So let's say this is round about 140. Okay. So I should have used this one. So this means that it's approximately equal to, not exactly equal to. Now this portion is, like I said, round about 140, and you times that with 10.25. That's a little more than 10. You know where we are going. So times 10.25, and that will give you a number that's close to, something more than 140 times 10 is 1400. Now this is something more than 1400. So it's likely that this is going to be something close to 1470. So the answer is this one, D. Day 4, if triangle ACE, this big triangle is similar to triangle BCD. So this triangle and this triangle are similar, which means the ratio of corresponding sides have to be the same. Remember from previous lessons? Now we need to find the length of AC. We need this from here to here. How much is it? So now the corresponding sides, now if you look at the corresponding sides, what's corresponding to AC? It's BC, right? So we could say the length of AC over the length of BC, and the length of BC is 10.5. That's given. 10.5. Now that has to be equal to another side of the larger triangle over the corresponding side on the smaller triangle. And this is a 10.5. Okay. So we have this as AE, that's 24, over BD, that's 8. So we can see that every side on the larger triangle is, if you simplify 24 over 8, you get 3 over 1. So it means that every side on the larger triangle is 3 times as much as the corresponding side on the smaller triangle, and this ratio, this 3 to 1, will be fixed, and therefore AC has to be 3 times the length of BC, which is 10.5. So AC is equal to 3 times 10.5, which is equal to 31.5 centimeters. Of course, all units are in centimeters. So we have our answer as G. So day 5 says a group of 15 students were surveyed about the number of times they have visited a miniature golf course. The frequency table shows the results. What is the mean number of visits? And we have the number of visits and the frequency on this side. Okay. Now you know the formula of mean is mean. You need to add them up. Like, okay, let's say the first students, remember there are 15 students in all. So the first student says that, okay, I have visited only once. So you have 1. The second student says, I have visited the golf course thrice or 3 times. So you have the second number is 3. The third student says, I have never visited the golf course. So that's a 0. You do that, you add these numbers up, and you keep doing that until you have all the 15 answers, right? And then, so let's say the last number is 2. So the last student surveyed said that I have visited the golf course 2 times. So this guy says 2. So we will have 15 numbers over here, and then we need to divide the answer, whatever we get when we add them up, with the number of numbers we added at the top, which of course is 15. Now the trick is to find out the sum from this table. Now look at this frequency. What does this frequency mean? It means that 7 students, as many as 7 students, said that they have never visited the golf course. So actually the data set is going to look like 0. The first student says 0, and another 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 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we have a bunch of zeros. How many zeros? As many as 7 students said that they have never visited. That's why the frequency over here is 7 against the number 0. Similarly, against the number 1, the frequency is 2, which means the frequency, 2 students have said that they have visited this golf course once. So we have 1 and another student saying 1. And then similarly, 5 students say that they visited the golf course 2 times or twice. So we have 2, then another 2, then another 2, then another 2, then another 2. And finally, 1 student saying that he or she visited this golf course 3 times. So we have a 3 in the end. So what do we do? Like, obviously you could easily add these numbers up. You want to be smart, right? So what you do is, look, there are 7 zeros. So this is like saying 0 times 7. There are 2 ones. So it's like 1 times 2. And there are 5 2's. You know where we are going? So we have 2 times 5. And then we have 1 3. So we have 1 times 3, or I should be saying 3 times 1 to follow the same pattern. So in other words, to find out the total number, you are basically supposed to multiply the number of visits with the frequency, number of visits with the frequency, number of visits with the frequency, and number of visits with the frequency. You have 4 different numbers over here. And if you add them up, that will give you the total number you are looking over here, the numerator of the mean formula. So the mean is going to be equal to 0 times 7 plus 1 times 2 plus 2 times 5 plus 3 times 1 all over 15. And this is going to be equal to, well, this is 0. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 5 is 10, and 3 times 1 is 3. So we have 10 plus 2, that's 12. Let's leave the 0 out. Plus 3 is 15. So we have 15 over 15, which is equal to 1. Therefore, the mean number of visits is 1. Option B. Alright, so week 17 done. We are halfway through our homework. Week 18, day 1. The table shows the number of wins by the Arizona Cardinals football team in 4 seasons. Given that the average number of wins for these seasons is 6. So the average of these numbers is 6. It's given. How many games did the team win in the 2006 season? So we need to find this number out. Given the average of these numbers is 6. Pretty easy problem. You know the average or the mean. The formula is, we'll write AVG for average. It's the sum of the numbers divided by the number of numbers. In this case, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers. So average is equal to sum divided with 4. In this case 4, like I said. So you can just cross multiply this 4 with the average. So we have the sum is equal to 4 times the average, right? And the average is given to be 6. So the sum has to be 4 times 6, which is 24. Now we have a 6, we have a 5, we have a question mark, and we have a 8 in the end, 2007. So then these 3 numbers add up to 6 plus 5 is 11 plus 8 is 19. So you subtract 19 from the sum, which is 24, and you get 5. So this number must be a 5 in order for the sum to be 24. The answer is B, 5. Day 2, Sherman wants to paint the lateral surface area of the base for a sculpture he made. Which is the best estimate of the area Sherman wants to paint? Now this is this prism that you see. It's called a triangular prism, right? This face is a triangle, the bottom face is also a triangle, and the lateral surface of this prism is going to be this one, this rectangle that we see over here, another rectangle from the other side, and another rectangle from this side. So you combine the areas of these 3 rectangles, that gives you the area of the lateral surface. So let's find that out. As you can see over here, each rectangle has got a 17 inches on one side, all 3 of them 17 inches, and the height is 8 inches for all of them. So then one rectangle is like 17 inches times 8 inches. That gives you the area of one rectangle. There are 3 of them. You times this with 3. When you multiply 17 with 8 with 3, you get 408. So this is going to be 408 square inches. Remember the unit for area, that's going to be square inches. So pretty easy problem. H is the answer. We are making great progress. Over to day 3. Imelda builds a model of a ship using the scale 2 centimeters to 5 meters. So 2 centimeters on the model is actually representing 5 meters on the actual ship. Her model is 29.8 centimeters long. What is the approximate length of the ship? So if we assume that the length of the ship is x, x meters, now this is going to be like 2 centimeters over 5 meters is equal to 29.8 centimeters over x meters. To solve for x, we cross multiply. So we have 2x is equal to 29.8 times 5. Cross multiply means this times this and this times this. And that means x is equal to 29.8 times 5 over 2. And that will give us, I guess this is 74.5 meters. And the approximate length therefore is option C, which is 75 meters. Done. Let's look at day 4. Nina uses equilateral triangles to create the figure shown here. What is the total area of the shaded triangles? So we need to find this total area. Now these triangles are equilateral, but it hardly matters, Like you are not going to find out the area of each one of these triangles. That's not what the idea is. Because if you look at this shape, the overall shape, that's the area we need to find, and it's a trapezoid. And the area of a trapezoid is given as 1/2 times the sum of the lengths of parallel sides. You know, a trapezoid will always have one pair of parallel sides, this 8 and this 16 over here, times the distance that separates the parallel sides. So in this case, this is going to be 1/2 times the sum of the lengths of the parallel sides. So 8 centimeter and 16 centimeter. So we have 8 plus 16, that's the sum, times the distance between them, which is 6.9 centimeters. 6.9. And of course the area is going to come in square centimeters. Centimeters square. So let's try and simplify. 1/2 times 8 plus 16 is 24 times 6.9 square centimeters. You can cross off the 2 and the 24, write a 12 over here. So effectively this is 12 times 6.9 square centimeters, which is, well, I could have multiplied these two numbers out, but again I want to show you a trick. Look at these options. Now this number 6.9 is a little less than 7, right? Now you know that 7 times 12 is 84. Therefore the answer is going to be a little less than 84. Now look at the options. There's only one number, h, that's a little less than 84. So here comes our answer, 82.8 square centimeters. There's no doubt in my mind that if we multiply these numbers out, we are going to get either exactly this number or somewhere close to this. You can try it out. What percent of the larger rectangle's area is the smaller rectangle's area? Okay, fine. So we have a larger rectangle whose area is area of the larger rectangle. I'm going to write AL, L for larger. That's equal to 21 times 14 square inches. Okay. And the smaller rectangle is A smaller is going to be equal to 10.5 times 15.75. Both are in square inches. Square inches. Square inches. Okay. Now to answer the question, what percent of the larger rectangle's area is the smaller rectangle's area, we do. So the percentage, the required percentage is equal to the smaller rectangle's area over the larger rectangle's area. So that will give you the fraction. So this, if you just leave it at this, it will give you the answer to the question, what fraction of the larger rectangle's area is the smaller rectangle's area. So maybe this is a 1/2 or a 1/4 or a 2/3 or whatever. Now if you times this with 100, that will give you the percentage. So let's do that. So this is equal to 10.5 times 15.75 over 21 times 14. Now before you reach out for your calculator, there's one simplification you could do. 10.5 times 2 is 21. Therefore cross this one off, write a 1 here, cross this one off, write a 2 here. Now this is the decimal number, so let's not try and simplify any further. Of course there's a times 100. So we have this as 15.75 times 100 is 1575 over 2 times 14 is 28. And when you do this division, you get 56.25. So the answer is C, 56.25%. Now before I let you go, I wanted to tell you that you could also estimate the answer on this one even without doing this calculation. How? Now look, 103% is absurd. Now that would mean the smaller rectangle has got an area that's larger than the area of the larger rectangle. So this is ruled out. 0.75%. Now that's even less than 1%. Now 1% means 100th. So does it mean that the area of the smaller rectangle is even less than 1/100 of the area of the larger rectangle? Doesn't look like, right? So this is gone. And similarly, 5.25%, even though as not as small as this one, now 5% is 1/20th. Now if this were to be right, it would mean that the area of the smaller rectangle is like 1/20th of the area of the larger rectangle. So that looks absurd as well. So 3 options ruled out. There's only one possibility. Done? Okay. So I hope you enjoyed the video and you learned a bit from it. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.